you very much for coming out this afternoon. Alan and I we've never done a panel together on Spin City.
No.
So I'm hoping that he has a lot of stories because I don't remember a goddamn thing about it.
You don't remember a thing about anything.
I don't. How do you know that?
get the role, you cash the check, you throw it over your shoulder, and then you're boom, you know?
You think, how about, what is that movie I did? Oh, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
50 years ago. My God.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And how long ago was your thing, the camera?
It'll be, oh my God, it'll be 40 years ago this fall.
Jesus.
This coming fall.
Yeah, look at you.
Look at us.
You haven't changed.
We're still living.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't changed a bit.
We don't, except we're better friends now.
Yeah. Okay, I have a story.
Okay.
Or you want to ask something?
Well, I was gonna throw something out. I like to show the sort of the origin story of these roles. How did the casting come about for you on Spin City?
Well, I think thanks to Mike Fox. I mean, did you audition with Mike?
Yeah, I auditioned in Los Angeles for Gary Goldberg and Bill Lawrence, you know, who created the thing, and then we all got callbacks to audition for Michael because he had casting approval, and so Michael kind of handpicked his playmates because we all share a fairly twisted sense of humor, which Fox appreciated, and that's how it happened. Yeah.
I remember when I think it was the same thing. I think I finally had an audition with Mike, and I walked into the room, and I didn't realize how short Mike was, and I realized that I wasn't going to get this part. I'm 6'4", and he's
5'4".
5'4"?
Maybe 5'5". 5'5".
That's what he says.
He's my height.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, what's your height?
The DMV says I'm 5'6", but I'm really 5'5".
5'5". Okay. All right. Oh, so and I remember when I was auditioning, I thought I got to get shorter, and so I would lean against the table or like that, and I did the whole audition sort of bent over, and I still got the part. I was just amazed. And I think that they wanted the mayor to be a little bit snarkier, more bitter, and really make some bad choices. And I think I sort of came along and made him a little more naive and entitled, and and I'm not sure that Gary had that in his mind when he did it.
I remember in the script it said Mayor Randall Winston. You'd vote for him. You would. I just remember that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so that was like, yeah, I'd vote for Barry.
Yeah. Well, see, but that's the thing, though. When we were doing the series, I never felt that anybody would vote for me because I was so dumb about a lot of stuff. And I would try to get Gary and to at least one show per season where the mayor actually solved a problem, actually looked like he could be the mayor of New York. And, but then they have me and Mike jump off a pier into the river or shit like that, But
I remember that one time in the first season, I just remember this. The scene was you were both smoking cigars, and he had a problem, and he confided in you, and you did so. I can't remember what the problem was, but you did solve it for him in that episode. You gave him some good advice.
Oh,
so
did I?
yeah, so it wasn't like Winston was a complete doofus. He had his moments.
Yeah, and we had some nice scenes together, which I don't remember. Do you remember any of our scenes together?
No.
You were with Boatman most of the time.
Most of the time I was with Michael Boatman.
Yeah, and you moved in with him, right? The characters?
Yeah.
But you weren't gay.
No, we were the odd couple. We were absolutely the odd couple.
That's right. A lot of humor came out of that.
It was great. Boatman and I had met about a year and a half before that. We did this show called Muscle on the first season of the old WB, and it was a very edgy, very funny, like in kind of a wicked way, comedy, and we were dead last in the ratings every week. For 13 weeks, we were absolutely dead last. But they teamed us up in that show, and Boatman played a Johnny Cochran-type lawyer, and I played a psychoanalyst who would divulge all of his patients' secrets just at the drop of a hat. And he wound up in that show representing a serial killer cannibal. It was dark. It was a dark comedy. And he brought me in as his expert witness, and we wound up being in a cage in this killer's basement, and he fed us carrots and called us his bunnies.
His bunnies?
Yeah. He was going to eat us. He was fattening us.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah, it was dark, but really fun. Yeah.
Who
I
did
don't
he
remember.
poo-
I don't remember anything we did together. We became great pals on the show. I have a story. I have a story about Barry Bostwick. So I'm in high school. It's 1974. We take a trip to New York. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, right outside Cleveland. We take a trip to New York to see plays and go to museums and everything. Staying on some hotel that no longer exists on 8th Avenue, and we went to this deli. I went to this deli after the show one night, and I see this very tall dude with slicked back hair and a shoulder bag, which he still has.
Yeah.
Right? This leather shoulder bag. And he had on this like California surf cat shirt, and he ordered roast beef and chocolate pudding. Jesus. And I went back and I told the other kids, I saw an actor. I saw a real actor. I saw an actor.
Yeah.
How do you know? I just know he was an actor. He was an actor, And so then years go by. A few years later in college, I go to a midnight show of Rocky Horror, and there's this guy. And I said, it's the guy with the pudding. And everybody's like, no, it's asshole. Because it was all the thing with the newspapers and the squirt guns. I didn't know anything. But anyway, so that was my...
How'd you remember
and
the
the first
pudding?
time I saw you at the first read-through of Spin City. Yeah, that show. I told you that story. And Barry, he needs to eat in the morning or his blood sugar gets wrong.
Yeah.
He needs protein in the morning. I found this out about my friend. And I told him this story, and he's like standing there with his like eggs and stuff in his toast, and he's like, wow, that's great. And then he just took off. Anyway, that's my
story.
Bostwick story.
That's a lovely story. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
They
Thank you.
applauded that.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for my pudding and my roast beef. The
He no longer eats meat.
no, I don't. But I'll eat pudding any time of the day.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I can't imagine. We didn't really have any solitary moments in this 6 years, right? We did this?
I don't recall, and I actually think that the mayor didn't want anything to do with Stewart because he was pretty scuzzy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it seemed to me. But Bill Lawrence, who really wrote that show, in most sitcoms, there's an A story and a B story, and that's it. We had an A, B, and a C story,
Yeah.
and they all dovetailed and intertwined. And the writers were just run ragged because Billy was very exacting about how things had to line up. So there was always a story with the mayor and Mike or the mayor, and that was the A story. Sometimes it was Richard Kind, sometimes he'd get the A story. And then Boatman and I were always the B story, sometimes the C story. So we didn't do too much together.
But you know what was wonderful about the casting on this is that they could give an A, B, or C story to anybody in the show.
Yeah.
And there's so few shows that have ever been on, comedies like
Yeah.
that had that kind of depth of bench.
Yeah,
you know?
we had a good cast,
It's a very flexible ensemble.
Yeah, it really was. And the characters were so clearly defined. There wasn't, you and Bo, everybody had, okay, this is the parameters of that character. So that's what we can make funny about that character. And there wasn't a lot of overflow,
They didn't really find me, or didn't really start to write for me, not really until about a third of the way into the first season. Because we did the pilot, we shot the pilot in California, and then everything moved to New York. And at the pilot filming, because we shot film, Steven Spielberg was there, and all these big people were there, and everybody's getting enormous laughs. And I had like 2 lines in the whole pilot, and it was like you could hear crickets, And so I was just like, I am just so screwed. And then at Thanksgiving time in the first season, I went home to see my dad in Cleveland, Ohio, and I got a phone message from Gary Goldberg. And he said, Alan, it's Gary, give me a call. And I thought, oh, I'm getting fired because I hadn't had anything really much to do up until that point. And that's not what happened. Carla Gugino played Michael's love interest in the show, and the show had originally been conceived as sort of a Mad About You kind of thing, kind of a love story comedy with a workplace backdrop. And then the workplace just popped. and it was just very, very funny. And Carla played a reporter, so she was kind of like a member of the enemy camp. So there wasn't really a way to work her into the workplace, and everybody decided it would be better if they let her go, you know. And then it wasn't too long after that, there was a scene where Richard Kind's character, Paul, has this new girlfriend, and he hasn't had sex in like 3 years. And he's worried that he doesn't know how to do it anymore, you know? And so he's talking, I can't remember if he was talking to you or Mike.
I don't know.
And he said, I don't know, I just feel it. I feel a little rusty. I feel a little rusty, you know? And I think it was Mike reassured him everything's going to be okay. And then he walked out of the press room, and I was standing behind the door chewing gum. And he was like, Stewart, did you hear anything in there? And I'm like, no, I didn't hear anything. And then he said, oh, okay, bye. And I said, see ya, Rusty. And in that moment, they found Stewart, and he said, what do you mean, Rusty? What do you mean? And I went, oil can, oil can. And in that moment, they found Stewart, like the essence of him. And during the taping that week, Michael watched that scene, and he came up to me and he said, I'm so happy for you, you know. And that was the great thing about Michael is you hear these horror stories of sitcom stars that if they're in a scene, they have to have every single joke. And Michael's smart enough to know that you don't want to do that. You want to spread it around. So like Barry said, anytime anybody's on screen, you know it's going to be funny. And Michael was smart that way, and he wanted all of us to succeed. So that's why it worked.
He had said in interviews that he was like, he didn't like how he became the center of Family Ties. He thought, like, he really thought, like, should stay in an ensemble. It was like the focus character and all that stuff, too. But, yeah, I think that carried on over to his philosophy.
I think Michael Gross didn't like him becoming the head of Family Ties.
That didn't go well.
No, it didn't. But Mike, you know, was our executive producer, and he was so focused on getting the flow of the episode right, and he hardly, I don't remember him rehearsing much. And I remember I loved rehearsing. I loved to come up with bits, you know, and to the point of I was probably very obnoxious. And Gary David Goldberg, the producer, called me into his office, similar story. And I thought, oh, shit, I'm going to be fired. This is about 3/4 of the way through the first season. I think we all felt we were going to be fired.
Yeah, I think maybe so.
Because, you know, a workplace, you know, the mayor could be assassinated, you know, and you guys could be you know, gotten rid of. But Gary called me in and he goes, you know, Barry, you're approaching this like a thoroughbred, like a racehorse. He says you got to pull back a little bit and just relax into just letting things happen. Because I think Mike was a little pissed off at me because I was pushing for results too soon, you know. And Mike was. I kept the job, thank God, because I listened to him and says, okay, well, I won't do anything. But I think that Mike was so spontaneous that you could hand him a whole page of dialogue.
It was amazing.
2 minutes before he had to do a scene, and he just had the perfect memory. And which was one of the things that was so sad as the show went on, is that you saw that was one of the things that was harder and harder for him, you know.
We didn't know for the whole first season that he was sick. We didn't know that he had Parkinson's, and there would be these times on Friday nights when we would be shooting the show, and it's like, why are we taking a break? Why are we taking a break? Michael needs some time. And I said, well, okay, fine. And we didn't know. At that time, the medicine for Parkinson's was such that they could give it to you and the spasms would stop, but you would still have a little tremor, right? And so what he would do is he would not take any medicine all day, and then about an hour before showtime, he would take a really goodly dose of that stuff so he could be shake-free for the show. And sometimes it didn't work right, and then he would get these horrible spasms. And so he would be in his dressing room with a masseuse trying to rub the knots out of his neck so he could get back on stage. So he's a tough Canadian dude. I mean, he's really strong physically because it's a debilitating disease, and he worked through it. And then at the end of the first season, we were told, and then the beginning of the second season, Michael Boatman and I were sent out to do all these radio tours. You sit in a room and you talk with radio people all over the country, and he not only had Parkinson's, he also had Lyme disease. Because he had a place up in Connecticut, and he was bitten by a deer tick, and so he had like the thing in his arm so he could get injections of this antibiotic and stuff. And so all these creepy journalists, like from People Magazine and The Inquirer and everything, they were going through his garbage, like trying to find his medicine bottles and all that kind of thing. And so we were asked to run interference, because these people started to ask, we hear that Michael's sick, what's going on? And we would say, well, he's got Lyme disease, which was true, you know. But he's a remarkable person, because he just, boy, talk about not letting anything get you down, you know.
Well, you guys became. You were of the same generation, so you guys became friends much more than I did. I think he always saw me as a little bit older, but we were close, but we weren't that close. But I think you would hang out together. And
A little bit. He hung out a lot with Sandy Chaplin.
That's right.
He hung out. They went to hockey games and all that stuff.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they went to boxing matches, whatever. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
They did that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Sandy Chapman?
Chaplin. His real
Chaplin.
name is Alexander Gaberman.
I know. I could never remember what his real name
He
was.
changed it to Sandy Chaplin, and I was like, oh, okay. Show
Yeah.
business, your stage name.
So what do we call him now? Alexander?
Gaberman.
Gaberman.
Just call him Gaberman, piss him off.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. He's really brilliant. I think he was
He
brilliant.
went to Juilliard. He could do anything. He could sing, could dance, he could act. Yeah.
He did a
Talented
scene
guy.
once where he sang Danny Boy. Remember that? Oh my God, so beautiful.
Yeah.
He's what a lovely voice.
What was it? Was it a talent show? Was a City Hall talent show or something?
it?
I can't remember, but you were like one of the judges.
Yeah.
And then he came in and he did this rendition of Danny Boy, and they rigged up like little tubes behind your ears so that you cut to the mayor, and he's like weeping.
I don't remember
It was
that.
good. It was a good gag.
Really? Yeah. You know, there was characters in this and actors in this that are just one-offs. You know, Richard Kind is a one-off human being. I sometimes I've seen in the past a call sheet saying, we're looking for a Richard Kind kind of actor, you know, and I say, well,
Just call him up.
just call Richard Kind, you know.
He'll be happy. He'll take the call.
Yeah, Richard Kind, yeah.
Literally, that show I did at the Disney parks for 14
Yeah.
years, the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor.
Yeah.
The casting of the Buddy Boyle character was in that very first script Imagineering gave us. Think Richard Kind in parentheses.
Yeah.
That was the first direction for that character.
Think Richard Kind, yeah. Wow. But we had this parade of women in our show. Every year, Mike would have his character want to have an affair with, somebody else, right?
Yeah, some glamorous, sensational.
Yeah, Mike knew everybody, so he could get, Heidi Klum for 5 episodes,
Yeah.
like that. And who played Richard Kind's mother?
Oh, Raquel Welch.
Raquel Welch. Yeah.
And I wanted them to do another show and have them. I'm having a senior moment. Oh my God, the great, the insult comic of all time, Don. I wanted him to be the dad.
Oh, he would have been fabulous.
Because I mean, how do you get Richard Kind out of Raquel Welch? Well, if Don Rickles is the dad, it makes perfect sense,
Yeah.
And I wanted to write the episode. It never happened. And I wanted Don Rickles to have a line like, "Thank God you look like your mother." You know?
Wow, that's funny. Yeah, that's so. But the women, we had a lot of different women in it, and then finally Heather Locklear. For how many seasons did we have Heather?
3, I think. Yeah.
And Heather was never given, I thought, what she should have gotten in terms of the comedy.
Me too. That girl in real life is wickedly funny.
Yeah.
She's really smart, and she's got a fast mind, and she's got a sharp tongue, and she's just a funny person. And they always cast her as like the good girl, except Dynasty or whatever that was. They had her be a snotty.
Did they? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean in the comedy.
Nobody's good on those shows. Yeah.
No, I know. But yeah, they never just let her rip. I felt they should have written for her like Murphy Brown. Just make her be like really edgy and tough like that, but they never did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I had a girlfriend. What was it? Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. I had Farrah Fawcett for, supposed to be for 4 or 5 episodes, and I think we only got 3 out of her.
Yeah. She was complicated.
She was complicated.
Complicated lady, and Barry had all the scenes with her. She didn't work with any of the rest of us, and Barry's very patient and gracious with her, and she was, she was a little difficult. And Charlie was on the show at that time, and after Farrah left the show, Charlie gave Barry a Purple Heart.
Yeah,
because
a
you
real
can buy
purple.
one. The real one that is given to soldiers is quite small, but you can buy a larger one just if you'd like to have one.
Oh, good. Oh, so he didn't get me a real one. He gave me a
Well,
larger
you
one.
can't get a real one.
No, I
You
was
gotta
hoping.
get shot somewhere.
Yeah, well.
Nobody wants to get a purple
No,
heart.
no.
Yeah.
I loved Farrah, though. I mean, I thought she was wonderful, but
Oh,
she
lovely,
was.
but
She was
tricky.
Yeah, but I once followed her around when I was probably the age that you saw me with the pudding. I once followed her around in Bloomingdale's. She was shopping with somebody. She wasn't even a star yet. And I followed her all over the Bloomingdale's,
This
just
was
trying to figure out
pre-poster.
how and no poster yet, nothing. She was just radiant. She was radiant, and I found some way to talk with her, like I think in the woman's sweater area. I think I went up and
Like
said,
you do.
Yeah.
When you're stalking someone, you go to the women's sweater area.
Yeah. Well, that just happened to where she lighted, and I probably went up and said, "But do you think this will fit my girlfriend?" And I think I got
Nice.
3
That was
words
good.
out of
That
her.
was
Yeah,
good.
no, yeah, she didn't. She didn't
bite.
No, she didn't cotton to me at the moment. But then I got to work with her. What 30
That's how Henry
years
Winkler
later?
met his wife. She was selling clothes. He was like, "Does this look good?" No.
right?
But yeah. So no, go back and change it to something else. And then
Yeah.
they tried. Then they
Oh,
finally
that's
had the
funny.
gumption to go back the next day and ask her out.
Where were you when I needed you? For Christ's sake. Yeah. So the Connie Britton was in the show. Connie was. Oh, you're looking at me like
Well, you go ahead.
I have nothing. Well, Connie, you know who Connie Britton is? She did a bunch of other stuff, right? Big
She's had
star.
quite the careers. I mean, she went on and did
Big star. Right. She was.
Nashville, and she was in the first season of White Lotus and many other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one.
How many seasons was she with us? Couple? 2,
She
3?
did 4,
She did 4 seasons?
I believe so.
Wow. She was always outspoken. She was one of those women actors that just wanted more. She said, she was a feminist in a way, I thought, or
Yeah.
just selfish. I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah. I worked with Gina Davis, and Gina's great. She's got some organization that's basically, just scoping out how women stand in film and television and how things are playing out. And she's a remarkable person.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she's lovely. You two would look good together.
Gina Davis?
She's 6 foot
Yes,
tall
she
in her
is.
flats.
Yeah, but she'd shoot me with an arrow somewhere. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, you just have to be quick.
I
She's got a duck,
gotta
man.
be quick. Yeah.
She's remarkable. She's in Mensa.
Oh,
she's
yes?
she's extremely bright.
Wow. Well, she does
lovely.
these conventions with Susan Sarandon.
Oh, of course she does. Yeah.
It's either that if it's a convention, it's either the 2 of them or Susan will do it with me and Tim.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing. But yeah, and who were some of the other women that just went on and?
I don't know.
break
It seemed like Daphne Zuniga. I remember that girl.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot, I can't remember. I don't know. They were just.
And then the one playing cops and stuff. What was her name? She ended up playing police officers, and Google it.
Judith Light. Wasn't Judith Light on the
Judith
show?
Light. Judith Light.
Wasn't
played-
she there for you?
Yeah, she was my girlfriend, and it was always weird because she had had an operation in the story, and she had gotten a heart transplant from my mother,
Oh.
and that was the joke of the story is
Yeah.
that I couldn't have sex with her because
She had the heart of your mom.
she had the heart of my mother. Yes, it was very funny. No, she was great.
That might put the brakes on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what then. How about I hop out there and take some of their questions?
You bet.
All right,
Sure.
cool. Before I do that, though, as always, thank you both for your talents and
Thank
your
you.
professionalism, the performances you brought
Thank
to
you.
these roles. And I've said that to you before, like I said, and I could talk all day about the stuff we have weird stuff. Oh, I've got a couple of fun clips for the next time we have a solo one.
Okay,
We have a
You
gag.
can do it right now.
No. We have a gag where I play something from his ancient past, like a
Yeah.
TV movie or something like that. He's like, "Am I in this film?"
Or
Oh,
I'll
wait,
find a
I
song
remember.
that I did with the First National Nothing in 1967. Yeah, I love that. If we're having if we're having questions, I always like. I think Alan and I would like to present to the best question a Spin City picture that we both signed. So come up with really good questions, and then we will confab and.
But
come-
I really suck at being a judge. I'm always, I can't get like hard and fast and draw a line in the sand.
You
so-
can't?
No, this
All
is
right,
up
well,
to you.
I'll
Yeah.
do it and
All
piss
right.
everybody off.
We'll have some fun. And of course, you are a captain of an enterprise, and this is a sci-fi comic convention. Star
Yeah.
Trek is a part of our DNA, so we will always owe you for that. And I'm still holding out for further adventures of your character in possibly audio form or animation
Okay,
or
all
something
right.
like that.
Animation, that'd be good.
Well, or we just de-age you a little bit.
All right,
Just
cool.
lose the. You
You
got
sure?
a baby face, man.
Not anymore, man.
Well,
It's all sliding down.
hey, I would have voted for you on Secession.
Oh,
It would have
thanks.
been probably for the wrong reasons, but
Yeah.
that was the point. So,
Succession,
all right, let's go
my
ahead and take
God.
hands. Who wants to start us off? All right, yeah, this young lady. Hey, what's your name?
My name's Jen.
Hi, Jen.
So I got a question for both of you, and it connects you through Supernatural. Just wait for it. Barry, you played the role as a magician in the episode Chris Angel is a douchebag
Right.
from Supernatural.
But I don't know how they got away with that. They should have been sued. I mean, to say somebody is a douchebag, you know.
Yeah. What was it like working with Jensen and Jared?
Well, all they did was they were wonderful. I mean, great actors and very relaxed. And I just remember before each scene, there was always a minder or a handler who would take their cell phones away from them at the last minute because they were always talking to somebody or screwing around on their phones, And I thought, but how are they able to just be so distracted and then put them down and go and then do the scene? I admired them for that, and good-looking guys, huh? Really too bad about their careers, and their conventions that they do when they fly in their private jets,
What?
Oh yeah, and they did their. Have you ever been to one of their conventions? Anybody? Oh my God, it cost a fortune to go to their conventions, but they're so well done and so well organized. And did you ever do one of those?
What?
I don't know. Supernatural.
No, I never did.
You never did Supernatural?
Not that I
Did you
can
do
recall.
a psych?
I did say.
Well, she has a follow-up to this to connect this.
Oh,
So,
okay,
okay,
good.
what you got?
All right, so Alan, for you, I liked your role as the teacher in the movie Freaky.
Oh,
What was it like working with Catherine Newton, who was Castiel's daughter in Supernatural?
oh, well done. Nicely done.
All right.
I had fun. They called up and they said, "Do you want to do this movie?" And I said, "Tell me about it." They said, "You get sawn in half." I said, "I'm in."
Yeah.
And she's a delightful young woman, And I never got to. I met Vince Vaughn another time. I didn't get to work with him on that picture, but yeah, I was happy to do it. I want to do more horror. I want to do more horror pictures.
Thank you, guys.
Fun
Okay.
question. Go ahead and start us off with. Okay, who's got?
You're in the right place, man. John Carpenter's out there.
Yeah, true. Hey, what's your name?
My name is Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hello. You're both actors playing politicians or political people. My question is, I'm not the first one to observe it. People have said that both politicians and actors pull from the same toolbox, essentially that you're performing. So my question is, have you had any brushes with going into politics, even if it was student council? And if you weren't as successful as you are now, do you think you would have been tempted to go into politics?
Should we just give them the picture now? My God, they. Have you ever had any?
I have had no inclination to do that because I think to really play ball in that particular arena, you pretty much have to be a lawyer. I mean, most all of them are lawyers, you know. And the only thing I notice now is in the old days, it used to be people in our profession would use their notoriety to get into politics. And now it seems to me that politicians just want to get on the red carpet and have book deals and have, you know, their own shows on Fox TV or whatever.
Right.
So it's like they just want to use their political notoriety to get into show business.
Yeah,
It really
or get
seems-
on Cameo.
Yeah.
Giuliani, you could spend a couple of $100 and he'll give you a personal thing.
Boy, did that guy ever crash and burn.
Oh my God! But he was the mayor when we were.
He was the
doing
mayor when
Spin
we
Theater.
were doing Spin City.
Yeah, and I always used to joke about his comb over, and oh Jesus, you know. And one time I think we were at an event, and I said, at least I have my hair. Oh my God, it was horrible. When I was a kid, and I think it was like 10 or 11, my father was a campaign manager for our congressman in San Francisco area, and he was a Republican, and I remember as a young teenager, I was a singer with a guitar player. We were like, you know, the local Kingston trio, and we used to be in the back of cars going on these sort of parades, and unfortunately, I think I was trying to get Nixon elected. And I probably was way too good a singer and successful because he was elected at the time. But no, and my father was going to run for Congress, and he backed out at the last minute because Shirley Temple was the same. She was Republican, and she ran for Congress at that time. So he backed out of the race, and then the guy who actually won to be the congressman from our county, or wherever we were, he was shot and killed in Jonestown. He went down there to try to, you know, solve the problem. So I stay as far away from politics as I can. I don't even have an opinion. I am apolitical, and except I'm not a big Trump person, so what can I say?
All right.
Yeah.
Who's got another one? All right, I'll take this one, then I'll come to you, and then I'll go over to that side. Okay. Hey, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Albert. Big fan of Spin City, but Alan, I wanted to ask maybe about Ferris Bueller. Have you ever wondered?
What, did you miss the part where I say questions had to be directed to everybody?
No.
I missed
Go
that.
ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. I did miss that part. Do you ever wonder what happened to Cameron and Ferris? I like to imagine maybe because Ferris was so good at manipulating and being such a charmer, like maybe he ran a Ponzi scheme, and Cameron, he brought in Cameron to, you know, kind of help with his, you know, schemes and things like that, like in the movie.
I think Ferris might have done some time. I think somewhere down the road he might have run afoul of the law and either fled the country or, you know, actually done a bid. And honestly, I don't think Cameron lived to see the next day. Because I think when Morris came home and saw his car down in the ravine, he just grabbed Cameron by the neck and threw him out the window and said, "Fix it!" And then, you know, then Cameron was DOA and Morris died like 7 years later in Joliet from lung cancer. Well, that's what I think.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Honestly,
good.
that's kind of close to my head canon as well. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, you got your question, but no candy. Okay, sorry.
And I always thought Brad Majors from the Rocky Horror Show ended up as a politician, and Scandal, he was probably in a men's room at an airport, looking under the thing, and it's probably that's my take on Brad Majors. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, what's your name?
Hi, my name's Tori.
Hi.
So I have a Spin City question, and then I have one very small question for each of you.
That's more than one question. Pick
We
one.
can do it.
Okay, so my Spin City question is, how did the working environment of the show, like making the show, change after Michael J. Fox left and Charlie Sheen took over as like the new deputy mayor?
It was a slow transition because Mike had a hard time leaving the show. If I remember, it was
Yeah.
like he kept, even though Charlie was there, Mike kept on coming back for 2 or 3 episodes, right?
A couple, yeah.
Couple, and he was just trying to make sure that it was settled down and that people would accept Charlie. I thought they were so different in terms of personality, and I think so good in their own way. But Charlie brought with him, so much personal baggage that you bought who he was and what he was as a character. I don't know. What did you think? I liked Charlie very much.
I love Charlie. I met Charlie when he was 20 years old, and the thing about that guy is we all have our demons. It's just that Charlie wrestles with his demons in the town square
Yeah.
and invites people to watch, And,
Yeah.
but I love him. He's a really sweet guy, and at that particular time, he was in a real good spot. And he is again now, which is really good to know that he's clean and sober and
He and Chuck Lorre buried the hatchet.
Apparently.
He appeared in his
Yeah.
latest show.
We used to do these things called upfronts, where all the networks in May would announce their new seasons, and they would trot us actors out like a dog and pony show in front of all the affiliates and all the advertising people, And in the upfront in May of that year, when Charlie was announced as taking over for Michael, they did like a 10-minute video tribute to Michael, this big video love letter, while we were standing backstage waiting to be announced as the next season, the next cast for Spin City. And poor Charlie said that was the longest 10 minutes of his life. Because, how do you follow that,
Yeah.
And then they moved the show from New York to Los Angeles because it was cheaper, less expensive to shoot in L.A.
Cheaper for them. You and
Yeah.
I had to fly every week.
You, me, and Boatman. I guess Richard too. Yeah,
Yeah.
we would fly. We would go out for 3 weeks, do 3 weeks, have a week off, go back home to New York, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Good one. Thank you. All right, somebody on this side. Okay, we'll get you two
I
in.
see
and
somebody
we'll
way
plug
in the
time.
back. Is there a hand up in the back? Yeah.
Yes, there is. Okay, you want me to go to her?
I wish you would.
I'll go to her, then we'll do then we'll wrap up. So we
I'd say
got Richard's
fielder's
about time.
choice.
Okay, all right. Hey, what's your name?
These lights are killing me.
My name is TK. And
Hi.
Mr. Bostwick, I heard you mention that you don't eat meat anymore.
No.
So how long have you been a vegetarian or are you vegan?
I'll eat anything with a beak.
Okay.
I like beak food. It would be chicken.
What about
duck.
scales? Do you eat things with scales?
I'll eat scales and beaks. Pterodactyls. Yeah, I'm big on that. Yes, no.
Ginkgos.
My son for many years was a vegan vegetarian, and it was hell going out to eat with him, because he'd always take me to some fancy schmancy place that everything tasted alike, but it cost $40, on a plate. And thank God he's in Germany doing his doctorate in physics. And he's no longer just eating vegetarian stuff, so I can be with him again, and actually buy him some beak food. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I think we're still looking at the toolkit up front. Did we ever answer the politician guy well?
I don't know what we did, but I thought it was a great
It
question.
was a great question. I think.
Well, we got 2 more possible contenders. So
Oh,
we're about-
okay.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Rivka. I'm also an actor. I've been working in film and a little bit of TV for a few years. but the imposter syndrome is incredibly strong. So I was wondering, asking you boys, what is the first role that made you just pause and take a moment and go, I'm a real actor?
What was your first role?
Truthfully, I was 19 years old, and I was at school, and I did a production of Our Wilderness, Eugene O'Neill's only comedy, and I worked with a great guy named Bob Falls, he just retired. He was for years the head of the Goodman Theater in Chicago, and he's only a couple years older than me, but he was really smart, and he just would say things to me like, stand still. Stop frittering away your energy. Listen to the other actors. Your whole performance is going to come from the other actors. So he was just really smart, and it was in that part where I had a couple of moments. I was like, no, I'm in the right spot. I know what I'm doing. Yeah.
I was always attracted to being an actor because that's where all the pretty girls were in high school. And my girlfriend at the time, and I was a freshman or sophomore, was a dancer. And so I would do the little dance recitals with her through her studio. But prior to that, there was this another girl I met somewhere, I don't know, and probably I was 13 or something, or no, I was driving, so I was 15 or 16, and they were doing at her studio. They were doing a production of Babes in Toyland, and they needed somebody to play the villain in that. I forget whoever the villain is, and so I would drive all the way out to Walnut Creek, which was a long ways away, but she was cute, and I played the villain, whoever it was, and he had a mustache that I would, glue on. And I just remember on our opening night, my mustache kept falling off, and I kept on, trying to talk like this, holding my mustache on. And I thought, well, this is going to be my career. I'm just going to always deal with things that didn't work, and I was going to have to improvise ways through, and I was... I never saw her again, unfortunately. I don't know what it was, but the props and makeup. I always loved props, but makeup not so much after the mustache routine.
This guy, you won a Tony for the Robber Bridegroom.
Robber Bridegroom,
Right. So he was working on the Robber Bridegroom in rehearsals, and he learned to play the guitar and the mandolin and how many things?
Violin, guitar.
He learned to do all this stuff, and then you
banjo.
broke your arm.
The day before we opened.
He broke his arm, and so then he couldn't do any of his fancy musical tricks, and he
Yeah.
still won a Tony Award.
Yeah, but see, thank you. But see, that was the thing. I was like you said, just stand still and don't do all that nervous shit, and don't think you have to do all that stuff
Right.
to be effective. And so, in a way, it helped me because
Yeah.
I didn't mess up everything with, I'm going to
question.
play the
Thank
fiddle
you.
now, and I'm going to play the, but the Robber Bridegroom it's a charming show if you ever get a chance to see it or be in it. I think that have we made up our mind yet about who?
I'm about to say, yeah, we got a winner.
Do we have? Okay, let's talk.
All right,
What is
please
that-
hold.
What is that magic show? With the two guys in here.
Oh, fool us.
Oh, fool us.
yeah,
Yeah, Penn and Teller.
Penn and Teller. We're
But
gonna do.
anybody could fool me, so I mean...
we're gonna do Penn and Teller here.
I go back to the old. What's my line? Please hold for a conference.
There's no winner. No, I think we.
Horrible man.
Yeah, the horrible.
My friend,
right. Now
the Buddhist curmudgeon.
the gentleman who talked about the politics. Are you there?
He's
Still?
right there.
Please come up here.
Oh, man, you made him walk up here together?
Yes, of course. I'm not going to go off this stage. I'll kill myself. Thank you. Thank you. Lovely. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Nice to meet
Good
you.
job.
Thanks.
And thank you all
We got-
for coming
Thanks
out.
for
and
coming.
spending a
Before we
little
go,
time.
real quick, two things. One, either you guys got anything on the dockets you're allowed to talk about? Any future projects?
Yeah, I had a couple of films coming out. Daruma is one of them, and a couple other I can't remember. And we're doing a big Rocky Horror Tour this year because it's our 50th anniversary. So I'll be all over the country and Europe starting in September. So look us up. We're doing like one-nighters everywhere, and I'll be dead by December. You know,
But you'll be rich.
I'll be
rich as
rich.
Croesus.
Rich as Croesus. Yeah.
I got 3 movies in the can, and nobody seems to want to release them, so I don't know.
That's right. Oh, and we have a documentary on making Megaforce that we just
Yes.
finished, and that'll be out soon. So go on to makingmegaforce.com and look at our trailer. It's really good.
Very, very, very good. Very
Thanks,
good.
you guys.
One final thing. You want to take a picture with this awesome audience?
Oh, yeah, Sure. please.
Yeah, everybody, come forward. Like I said, stay out of the square. Otherwise, the camera will not catch you.
Where's the camera going to be?
Right behind us here.
Oh, good.
Just like always, Barry.
Here, let's get